x, which is plus 5x like we want, minus 6. That's why that's the answer for number 8. Okay, moving on to question number 9. The solutions of the equation y squared minus 3y equals 9 are. Well, this is, when you see an exponent up here, you might be tempted to like divide by y or do all kinds of things, but actually what you want to do is first rearrange this so that there's a 0 on the right hand side. And the reason why you want to do that is because when you have equals 0, you could solve by factoring. Sometimes you have an easier question than this. It'd be like x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. And if you can factor the left-hand side, that means something times something equals 0 means one of them has to be 0, or the other one has to be 0. And when you solve, you get x equals 2, or x equals 3. That's not this question. This question doesn't factor. You're forced to use the quadratic formula, which is x, or in this case y, equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. A is 1, that's the number in front of the square term. B is negative 3, and C is negative 9. When you run this through the formula, you get negative b, which actually turns into positive 3, plus or minus the square root. B squared is regular 9, minus 4ac. This is tricky. Since a and c are opposite signs, minus 4ac is going to become plus 4 times 9 is 36 over 2a, which is 2. This becomes 3 plus or minus the square root of 45 over 2. Now from before, I showed you how to take the square root of 300 and break it up. You can do the same thing with the square root of 45. It's 9 times 5. Square root of 9 is 3, so you get 3 plus or minus 3 root 5 over 2, which is choice number 4. You definitely want to print out this because some of these things didn't come out when I converted them over to use with this program. But choice 4, that's what that said. Okay, we move on to question number 10. Let's see what we have here. Question about logs. So there are 3 log rules that you have to be aware of for this test. This is a little tricky to read. It says 2 log x minus parentheses 3 log y plus log z is equivalent to. Well, I'll tell you that there are 3 log rules, and they are log. If you have log of a product, like log of xy, that can be split up into log x plus log y. Well, that rule number 1. Rule number 2 is if you have log of x over y, we can replace it with log x minus log y. And the third log rule is if you have log of x to some power, you can bring the power in front over the log. There are a lot of justifications for these 3 rules, but I'm not. Right now, I assume you're just trying to cram for the Regents. So these rules work in reverse order also, and that's what they're asking you to do here, to take this complicated expression and compress it into one single log expression. I'll start with parentheses. Notice how, see this 3 log y? That looks a little bit like this, a log x. If you see any number in front of the log, you can write it. I'm just going to copy what we have so far. Yeah, I'll do all rule 3s first. You are allowed to bring the coefficient up to become an exponent. So this becomes log of x squared minus parentheses log of y cubed plus log of z. Now, this here inside the parentheses resembles this a lot. So that means I can put it together into a log of y cubed times z. Say it's log of something plus log of something else up here, and it turns into log of that something times that something else. Same thing here. The Finally, I could use rule number 2 in reverse. I have log of something minus something. I could rewrite it as a single log where it's divided by. Log of x squared over y cubed z. It's choice 1. So those are the log rules. If there was a base down here, then the same base would be there. If there's no base, it's implied that it's base 10. So those are the 3 log rules. There are good reasons for these different rules, but we're not going to worry about them right now. Number 11, another one with negative exponents. So x squared minus 1 raised to the negative 2/3 power. First thing I would do with this is rewrite it as x squared minus 1 to the negative 2/3 power. I'd write it as 1 over x squared minus 1 to the 2/3 power. That's what happens with negative exponents. You could rewrite them as 1 over the same exponent, but make it positive. Now, fractional exponents, we make a radical sign. This number goes on the outside there, so it's cube root. You put x squared minus 1 there. Now you can either put the 2 out here or inside the radical. It's right either way. And notice the answer choices have it inside. And that's why the answer to this one, cube root of x squared, is choice 2. Number 12, hard to read this. It says radical 3 plus 5, radical 3 minus 5. So the way you divide expressions like that is by doing something called rationalizing the denominator. You do that by multiplying top and bottom of this fraction by what's called the conjugate of this radical 3 minus 5. The conjugate of radical 3 minus 5 is radical 3 plus 5. When you do FOIL on the bottom, you get 3 plus 5 radical 3 minus 5 radical 3. Those cancel out. You end up with just 3 minus 25, which is negative 22. And the top, when you do FOIL, you get 3 plus 10 radical 3 plus 25. And you get an answer of 28 plus 10 radical 3 over negative 22. Now, 2 goes into each of those, so we can divide everything by 2. 14 plus 5 radical 3 over 11, and put the negative sign out here. So minus 14 plus 5 root 3 over 11. This is actually a plus in the answer choice. Choice 1. Number 13, which is not a function. The thing you need to know for this question is that when you graph a function, for every x value there's only one y value. It passes something called the vertical line test, meaning there's no vertical line you could draw that would hit more than 1 point. Well, when you graph these other things, is x minus 2 squared plus y squared equals 4. The graph of that is a circle centered at 2, 0. And because that circle fails the vertical line test in a lot of places, it's not a function. Number 2 is a parabola, which is a function. There is no vertical line that will hit more than 1 point. 3 says x plus y equals 4. That's a line, diagonal line. And xy equals 4 is actually a hyperbola. Looks like that. It's actually a function, even though it gets very steep right here near this y-axis. It still is a function. Number 14. If angle A is acute and tan A equals 2/3, then, well, there's a couple of trig identities you should be aware of. One of them is that cotan of A is 1 over tan A. So one possible answer to this is cotan A equals 1 over 2/3 equals 3 over 2. That would be an answer if that were a choice, but it's not a choice. The reciprocal identities are cotan equals 1 over tan, secant equals 1 over cosine, and cosecant equals 1 over sine. Well, there's other identities based on cofunctions. In other words, cosine A is sine of 90 minus A. So if these two things have to add up to 90, then the sine and cosine will be equal. And that's true also for cotan A equals tan of 90 minus A. And while we're at it, this one doesn't get used much, but cosecant equals secant of 90 minus A. So if the two angles add up to 90, so for instance sine 20 is equal to cosine 70, if those two things add up to 90, it's true. That's why the answer to this question is choice 3. Cotan of 90 minus A is the same thing as tan, so it's 2/3 also. Number 15. The solution set of 4 to the x squared minus plus 4x equals 2 to the minus 6 is. It's always better if these two sorts of things have the same base. Luckily, 4 can be rewritten as 2 squared. And then we can use the rule that when you raise a power to a power, you multiply it. So it's 2 to the 2x squared equals 2 to the negative 6. Now, if they have the same base, that means that the exponents have to be equal also. So I feel like something went wrong. Oh, this is, sorry about that. I lost this 4 here. It says x squared plus 4x. So this needs a plus 4x also. So it becomes 2x squared plus 8x. So 2x squared plus 8x equals negative 6. This is a quadratic equation. Bring everything over to one side. 2x squared plus 8x plus 6 equals 0. Divide everything by 2. X squared plus 4x plus 3 equals 0. This thing factors to x plus 3, x plus 1 equals 0. So x equals minus 3 or minus 1. That's actually choice 3. This minus didn't come out too. Okay. We're going to go to number 16 on the next video.